we are now ready to start with our next design technique, which is the low relief design. So the low relief design is a low raised area that you do not need to fill with beeswax. It is basically a reverse design of the engraving technique. Something that you need to remember when you do the low relief design is that you would normally do that working from the back of your design. So you need to work in reverse. So I've now traced my design onto the front of my pewter, and normally if this was a design that does not look the same whether you're working from the back or the front, you would now need to turn your pewter upside down in order for you to do your design. But since this design, it doesn't matter whether I'm working from the front or the back, the design stays exactly the same. I'm going to work on the same front side to which I have drawn my design. So I take my design and I place it on my lino sheet, and now we're going to work with the metal ball tool, the 0.5mm metal ball tool, and we need to apply a little bit of lubricant before we start our low relief area. So drawing towards me, I need to start again with my central design. So we're going to start again with the same central design area here and then work our way out one little piece at a time. So applying a medium pressure, I'm going to draw that line in the same manner as we did our first engraving design. However, this time when I turn it over, and we need to flatten all of the edges around our raised area. So we remove our lino, place our pewter on our hard surface, and then using our paper stump we can flatten right up against the line, and then we also need to flatten the inside and then before I take this little guy, I'm going to trace with my same metal ball tool on either side of my raised design, not right against it, just a little bit away. I'm going to trace my design on either side on my hard surface using my metal ball tool. And then if I still have any ridges, I can then take my Teflon tool just to tidy up and define the edges. So that gives us a nice little raised line, and it looks very similar to the engraved line from the back. So the front of your design, it will stand upwards. The back of your design, it will be dented inwards. So we can now continue with the next piece of our design. So we need to turn our pewter upside down back onto our lino, and we can start with the next one. So before I start with the next one, I need to think about how I need to flatten and tidy up. So instead of starting with the one on the edge, I'm going to start with the central one. It's going to be easier to flatten these edges while I still don't have these ones raised. And then I'm going to start again within that previous line and then work my way out. Again, I'm using a medium pressure, and I draw towards me, and I do the complete design section here before I continue. after you've completed your design, we need to now turn our pewter back to the front, and we need to tidy up the edges around our raised line. So back onto our hard surface, working now from the front of our pewter, I first flatten with my paper stump all around, right up to my raised line, both on the inside of my design and on the outside. I now take my metal ball tool and I trace either side of the lines to create a sharp, smooth edge for my raised line. You don't want to do this right on top of your line, it's right next to it. And then we need to do the inside as well. And then I always go and I just repeat a little bit of my previous design to make sure everything is nice and tidy. We can now move on to the next part of our design. So back onto our lino, we turn our pewter upside down, and we can now start with the next little bit of our design. Again, we're working from within the previous recessed line, and with a medium pressure we draw our design. I'm now going to do the other side as well before I turn it over, because it's far apart. I can do them at the same time. Once done, I need to turn my pewter face up again and place it on my hard surface. Use my paper stump and I tidy up or flatten the area around and the area on the inside, but I'm not going to try and get in between these two lines. My paper stump is too thick and I'm going to flatten these lines if I try and do that. So I'm going to leave that area for now, and I'm just going to flatten around my edges on the outside and on the inside. Once done, I can take my metal ball tool and I can trace the edges, and now I can do the inside of this line, and by tracing that edge it will flatten the area in between these two lines. Repeat the same process on the inside of my design so that I have a nice sharp smooth edge on either side of my raised line. Repeat that same process on the other side. Remember to work towards you rather than away from you. There we go, and now we can continue with the top part of our design. So we go back onto our lino, turn our pewter upside down, and I'm first going to do the central design before I do the two side leaves. I'm going to turn my pewter so that I can work from within this recess, and I'm going to draw towards me with a medium pressure. I can repeat it one more time just to tidy up any bumps, and then I can do the other line as well. And now we need to tidy up, so we turn our pewter back onto our hard surface, face up, we take our paper stump and we flatten our edges on either side of our raised line. then need to take our metal ball tool and we need to define the edge on both sides of the line. Go. And now we can do the two side leaves. So we need to go back onto our lino, turn our pewter upside down, and I can do both of them at the same time. So working from the back of our pewter on our lino, starting within the recess of the previous design, I can draw with a medium pressure the next two lines. I can repeat that same process on the other side of my design. And then we need to tidy up from the front. So back onto our hard surface, we turn our pewter face up and we use our paper stump to flatten the edges around on both sides of our raised area. Again, I'm not going to try and get into the small area in between. Once done with the flattening, I need to take my metal ball tool and define the edges. Do it on both sides of the line again. And remember to turn your pewter so that you can draw towards you. Repeat the same process on the other side. Okay, so now I have done my low relief design, but you will notice that sometimes in certain places you might have lost a little bit of height, so we need to get some of the height back. But I don't want to do this now on my lino because I don't want to raise that area more than the other lines. So I like to turn my pewter upside down, place it on my hard surface, and then using my metal ball tool I retrace each of my lines one more time. So starting from the center design, I retrace it on my hard surface, each and every part of my design, using a firm pressure and be careful not to slip so that you go over your area. And still working towards me rather than away from me. Okay, and now, because I have modified my pewter from the back, the same rules apply. I need to turn it back to the front and I need to tidy up. So I can flatten with my paper stump any areas that I see that I've raised so that I've got a nice flat pewter in between my raised lines. you go. And that is the basic principle of a low relief design. You can now add a texture to the inside of your design, and to do a simple texture is just scratching your pewter. So you can take a sharp pointed tip like this, or you can use just your normal 0.5mm ball tool, and you can simply start by scratching in one direction, and it's just like coloring in. Just scratch your pewter and then do another one scratching in the opposite direction. So this will create a nice crisscross pattern on your pewter, which will be nice and dark when you do your patina. So you can now decide either to do your full design like that, or you can be creative and divide your pewter design in half and only do half. This is something that you can decide to do as a creative little piece on your own. The main principle of this technique is the low relief design. We can now put this aside, and we'll do our frame around after we've done our next technique.